right, construction champions, it's your host, Ron Nussbaum, and we're here for season 2 of Burning the House Down Construction Champions podcast with a fantastic guest to start it off. Lee, it is great to have you here today.
Hey, thanks for having me, and Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you as well. I am so excited to get 2024 kicked off here. This is going to be amazing, but before we get started, why don't you tell all the construction champions out there a little bit about yourself, what got you here to today, and what excites you here?
My name is Lee Blaylock. I'm the co-founder and CEO of a company called ConstructionBevy. It's a fintech-enabled marketplace for the commercial construction industry. And my background, I spent 7 years at Dell Computer, ran around badge number 244. Spent 2 years in Europe. I'm the first person Michael sent overseas. A lot of my time was spent in product management. Then went to a company called Dallas Semiconductor, ran a software channel for them. Then went to Oracle, left as a director in their high technology manufacturing consulting practice. The first company I started is a company called ServiceLane. It was funded by Owens Ventures, Silicon Valley Bank, Fremont Ventures. And it was like an early Angie's List, generating leads for home services because we knew that the yellow pages were going to go away. I sold that to Owens Corning. Then I started an investment management company called Annandale Capital. Super proud of it. It's a Financial Times 300 firm. We manage $1.5 billion in assets. It was my idea to start. I was the second largest shareholder, but I always knew I was going to go back to my core tech career. And so I did that for 7 years, then pulled the ripcord in a pre-negotiated deal, and then started the predecessor business to this, rolled it into ConstructionBevy. And we're having a lot of fun in this journey.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I know you're having a lot of fun. We've been able to talk about it leading up to our conversation today. So it is a fantastic time to be in construction software. That is for sure.
It is, by some estimates, construction is the second slowest industry to adopt technology behind K through 12 education. But as we know, all job sites have Wi-Fi now. Everybody's got a pad, they got a computer. And so now's a really good time to be in this industry because it's starting to embrace technology. It's not always the fastest to embrace. It's not like you're selling software to Atlassian, Atlassian software to, software developers. But it's one that everybody really understands is if you're solving a core business problem, then they want to adopt that technology.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, man. We're definitely on the same page with that construction. I like to say there's a reason why the trucks are full of brand new Milwaukee and DeWalt tours. It's not because they're not early adapters. It's just, it's got to be that solution that fits, that makes sense. And guys are ready for that. And like you said, job sites are more ready for it right now than they've ever been. And
they haven't. That's bringing up actually an interesting thing. So I'm about a third of the way through Walter Isaacson's book on Elon Musk. And he brought up a really unique point that is relative to construction. He's worried that we're going backwards in technology from a space perspective. He said, we went to the moon in 69. Nobody's gone to Mars in terms of humans going to Mars and colonization. And a lot of the reasons why he started SpaceX was he wanted to basically be an interplanetary society. And he said that you go back in time, the pyramids and the Mayan ruins were unbelievable engineering feats, but you had none of that during the Dark Ages. And if you look at the Roman aqueducts and you look at the cities they built, none of that was built during the Dark Ages. And so he's worried that we have a possibility of being the Dark Ages of technology, which is hard to believe with the internet, mobile, and everything else. But if you step back, it is true that over, couple hundred years, you could go back in time. And I thought that was really unique. And it obviously has a lot of applicability in the building world because, it took a long time for somebody to build something as sophisticated as the pyramids.
Yeah, that's an amazing outlook to have on that. I love that. That is, it's going to make me think a little bit about that afterwards for sure. So let's dive in, man. I'm going to ask you the $1 million question. I have a feeling we could just talk about Elon Musk and all of that for probably the next 4 hours, but that's not why the guys tuned in today. They tuned in to hear about the $1 million question. And that is, what makes a construction champion?
I think that to be a champion of anything, you really have to understand the customer. If you don't understand the customer and you don't solve their problem, it doesn't matter what you apply to it. They don't care, because they don't care about your product. They don't care about your business. They care about solving their problem. They don't wake up in the middle of the day and say, oh, I'd love to go work with ConstructionBevy. No, they're thinking about their world, their compensation, their gremlins, their alligators they're dealing with, and they're trying to solve a problem. In this world is trying to build something, which is one of the most noble professions there is. And so if you don't understand their particular viewpoints and you don't deliver on those viewpoints with excellence, you're not going to find your ability to survive very long. And so it's the ability to really understand not only what the customer is, but to deliver a solution that fits their needs, both economically and politically, is really, really important. And that's how you become a champion, is that you make your customers champions.
I love that. I mean, you're right on point. And this is something you have a lot of experience with, is customers and dealing with that. So how do guys take that the psychology of that, of making their customers champions, and live that? Because we hear about it all the time. We hear about, I just want to go out there and do the best thing for my customer. And then 9 out of 10 experiences people have, you would say the opposite is happening. So how do guys actually live that?
Well, I think number one, you have to be an infinite learner. If you are what's called an authentic entrepreneur and an inauthentic entrepreneur, and that's not a pejorative term, but an authentic entrepreneur comes from the industry. They understand the problems. They've lived the problems. Maybe they've been a PM, or they've been a head of procurement or something like that. And so they really understand the problem. There's a lot of successful companies that come from that. Conversely, there are a lot of inauthentic entrepreneurs that don't come from that industry, that look at it entirely differently. And they don't have the perspective of what's the industry been doing for a long time, but they bring in new ideas that they're applying to this new industry that they're in. But they have to be an infinite learner, and they have to surround themselves with position people that really do understand the industry. Because you can't just come in, just kind of blow something up if you don't understand it. You can learn quickly and you can apply for lessons, but at the end of the day, you have to have people in certain positions that really understand the values, the ecosystem of how that industry works. And so I'm an inauthentic industry entrepreneur. I don't come from the construction industry. I come from technology, but I have a lot of experience, and I'm a very product-centric founder. I mean, I really understand how to build software and how to build a team around that. And what I've done is I've surrounded myself with authentic people from the industry. I have 3 board members that are CEOs of construction companies. One of them is Tom Leppert. He was a former CEO of Turner, moved it to Dallas from New York. He was the mayor of Dallas. He's the chairman of $3 billion Austin Industries. He doesn't join startup boards. He's on our board. He's an investor. He's a board member. I've got 2 other GCs and investors, a guy named Derek Alley. He runs a family-owned business called VCC out of Little Rock. It's a $900 million family-run GC. And we also have the largest Black-owned GC in the Southwest, a guy named Gerald Alley, with a company called Conreal. And I have 8 GCs as investors. I have 5 subcontractors investors. I have 1 architect, 1 manufacturer, and 6 individuals from the insurance industry. So what I did as an inauthentic entrepreneur is I surrounded myself with people that come from this industry, and I listened to them. I just listened to them, and I asked questions, and I probe, and I call it the 7 levels of why. We can get into that if you want to, but I really want to understand the drivers behind this, because then I can take lessons that I learned at other companies, or lessons I learned at other businesses I've been involved with, and I can apply those to these.
That's fantastic. And see, this is a great conversation. So like 3 episodes ago, we had a conversation with a guy that he went out and brought experience outside of construction into his construction business, and that's what changed it for him. And this is what you're talking about, is even at a higher level of doing that, not just bringing in outside, but being an outside. So I'm an authentic founder with what I do. I came from the construction industry, and I built software, and I went and found software people. And now,
Right.
like, as you're saying this and we're talking, I'm like, maybe I found too many software people. Like, sometimes I feel, because we're on the opposite realms of this, but like sometimes I feel like my biggest handicap is the fact that I came from the industry and the blinders that can cause. So it's about getting people that aren't necessarily from the industry. And I'm sure you probably feel the same way, just the opposite. But yeah, that's amazing, going out and finding the right people to get that advice.
Yeah, I mean, statistically speaking, innovation does not come from inside an industry. If you look at Brian Chesky of Airbnb, you look at Travis Kalanick at Uber, you look at Elon Musk at SpaceX, right? He didn't grow up and he wasn't a Martin Marietta. And then you get very authentic entrepreneurs like let's say Bill Gates. He grew up in the software industry. Larry Ellison grew up in the software industry. A lot of people in the construction industry grew up in the construction industry. So you've got a variety of different ways that you can approach it. But at the end of the day, whether you come from the industry or not, you have to be an infinite learner. You can't walk in there thinking you have all the answers, because as Mike Tyson says, everybody's got a plan until you get punched in the face. And when you get that product out there and the users start using it and they're using it in ways you never thought about, you have to learn quickly and adapt. And that kind of goes back to your champion. That's what helps you win the race and become a champion, is that you're adapting to the way the market is, not to some thesis that you have that you're dogged and determined to go prove everybody wrong and then you're right. That puts you in trouble.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Being that I'm in that word. So what you're saying is 100% true. So no matter where you're at, whether this is day one of you swinging the hammer or you've swung the hammer for 25 years, there's always room to learn and continue to learn and figure out what does that customer want. I used to use the Brian Chesky story when he's talking about the customer experience in production and production and sales meetings. Like I used to use that and be like, this is what we're creating. Just because we're a construction company doesn't mean this stuff doesn't apply to us. Like if we're going to be great, we need to go out there with the mindset that we're going to be great and deliver this customer experience. And what does that look like?
Yeah.
And
he talks about a 7-star experience. And without going through the 7, the end of it is you've told them you love the Beatles, you told them you love, some car, and you told them when you're going to land, and the Beatles pick you up in your favorite car at San Francisco airport and deliver you to the Airbnb. And that's a metaphor for, hey, we really need to understand what the customer preferences are so we can deliver a 7-star experience. And that's, once again, that's how you get to become a champion, because then people will talk about it. And there's no better advertising than word of mouth, and people like, hey, you got to go check this out, because that's a huge endorsement and that's nirvana if you're a marketer.
Yeah, and especially in local regions, like word travels fast. Not just between customers, but between contractors and builders. Say you're a sub out there, like you contractors and the people that are hiring you are probably talking about you at breakfast, whether you're doing a good job or you're doing a shit job. So no matter,
bad news travels faster than good news.
Absolutely it does. So you want to get out there in front of that, and you want to be asking. I send out a lot of customer reviews, a lot of customer surveys to try to figure stuff out. I have one-on-one. It's the great thing about being the founder myself, is I can build some of these relationships with my customers, and just some of them I've gotten to know as friends, like more than just customers. But they'll give you the feedback, because it's amazing what you learn. And about, like, when you said about your product and what the market dictates, like when I originally went to market, I figured, this is for bigger companies. I came from a bigger company. And then out of nowhere, 70% of our users are smaller companies that use no other technology. And we're the first technology they're implementing. And like, there was this pivot moment right there where it was like, we need to focus on this. Like, this is now our demographic. It's not these bigger companies. It's this right here. And then taking that feedback, like you said, taking the feedback, learning, implementing that stuff, not having the blinders on.
Yeah, it's I think it's really important for people to understand that technology is an enabler, and this industry, like others, could really benefit from more forward-thinking people. So how can we apply technology as opposed to, hey, we've been doing this a long time. Change is hard. Change is really, really hard. And if you embrace change and you drive the change, that you'll find great opportunities, because you want to be the one that's driving the agenda, and it's continually find new ways of doing something. And yes, you're gonna stumble sometimes, but at the end of the day, you're gonna find that technology is more often than not an enabler for new things. You know, AI is a good example right now. A lot of companies saying we're an AI company. Well, I don't believe that that's a right way to look at it. If you go back to 2002, 2003, when companies like Salesforce and others companies came along, they were saying we're an internet company, right? Or late 90s, we're an internet company. Or if you go back to 2008, 2009, we're a mobile company. Well, here we are in 2023. You rarely hear we're a mobile company. We just have mobile as part of what we do. We just do things on the internet. We're not building client server software. And so now, because AI is new, we're an AI company. Well, you're going to find 3 to 5 years from now, people are not going to say we're an AI company. We just use AI as part of our standard operating procedure because it's so important. And so it's within the context of where are you in the evolution of your particular industry. But at the end of the day, it goes down to, if you've got profound customer insights and you deliver on fixing and solving their problems, and especially if you can do it 10x better, then you're going to find a lot of opportunities.
Awesome. So when I have an expert on here, I always like to ask a question as if I'm one of the listeners. And this is to the point that you were just making about how we've always done it. So say I'm a guy, I'm out here. I've been working in construction the last 20 years. You know, I've dabbled with some technology, but it's not how I've always done it. I just like doing it old school. What do you say to that guy to help get them over the hurdle? Because I believe headed into 2024 here, if you're going to be a construction champion, you have to be using every tool and resource that makes you better at your business. But there's still some guys out there that are listening to podcasts because they want to get better, but at the same time, they have this mental block that they have to get over when it comes to incorporating technology. And I know you do this at a high level.
That's a really, you could do a whole series of podcasts around your question. To answer that, I think you're going to find a bell curve. There are going to be people that don't want to, don't need to, so they're never going to do it, and they're very intractable, and that's the way they're going to be, and they've been successful so far, and so maybe they don't have to, right? You have others that continually want to improve, and they're stuck in a political environment where maybe it's not a risk-taking environment. They want to see a software that's been around. They've got 1,000 customers before they do anything. That's another kind of part of the bell curve. You have others that are willing to be early adopters, and they understand that making the sausage and being part of that sausage making process is not always smooth, but they want to have undue influence into the direction of that particular product, and they know that if they are helping that early stage company along, and they're working with them, that yes, there are going to be hiccups and bugs and things like that. But what they're going to find is hey, you know what? I made a recommendation and 3 weeks later it was live, as opposed to working with some big company that, get in line, and you're probably never going to get that unless you pay for the application to, basically have that particular piece of functionality. And you have others that are risk takers that we come to the office wanting to be the driver of change. And that's the way we differentiate. And typically that's smaller companies, it's not larger companies. Typically it's not family-owned businesses. It's businesses that were started by an organization that has an outside owner. And so they're driven by innovation. They're driven by, getting some kind of return. They're driven some kind of exit. And so it's not something where they're trying to protect the status quo. And it's not a judgment on right or wrong. It's just different orientations. And so when I look at an organization and I see their backgrounds, if somebody's been there 32 years or somebody's been there 3 years, I look at where they were before, and I try to put myself in their shoes, where it goes back to put your mind in the shoes of the customer. And one of the things I ask is, when's the last time you actually, not, I don't say actually, when's the last time that you've implemented new software? And you get very interesting answers. And based on how those answers come out, that's how I qualify if I really want to go after this organization. Because if they, it's been 3 years since they did XYZ and they say it with pride, why would I think that that's the best use of my time when I could go to other organizations that are really looking for, using technology as an advantage?
That's when you look at how you do prospecting, like I just look at the guy. I remember sitting at kitchen tables having conversations with homeowners, and I would ask same kind of like, when was the last time you did a project, or how long have you been thinking about this, where are we at, like. And if somebody's like, oh, I've been thinking about this for 15 years and you're the 10th guy I've had out here, chances are they're probably fine with that kitchen being how it is.
Yeah.
But like what you're talking, like that, this is this kind of stuff that you have to do if you're going to be a champion at anything that you do.
Well, and what you're getting at, I think, or at least the way I'm interpreting it, is trust, right? To make change, I have to trust that you're going to either make me look good if it's in a political environment, or if this is my home and you're going to redo my home, that you're going to basically be able to execute the vision that I have at a reasonable cost and a reasonable time frame. And so every single thing that you do as a construction champion, you want to build trust with your organizations, and you want to build trust with your customers. Because if they don't trust you, doesn't matter what you do, they're not going to want to engage with you. And that trust comes to being empathetic, understanding what their needs are, what their requirements are, et cetera. And it doesn't take, it takes a long time to build trust. As we all know, it takes 5 minutes to break trust. So it is something that you need to be really mindful of, is that how can I build a relationship with this person, this organization, this other homeowner, et cetera? Because if I don't have a relationship with them and they don't trust me, there's very little chance there's going to be any commerce between us.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And I think that's a great way to end the show right there. I think that's an amazing point. And for all the construction champions listening out there, how do they follow you? How do they find out more about what you're doing? Where's the best places for them to do that?
So it's ConstructionBevy, BEVY.com. Bevy is a group of like-minded people. It's entirely free. So we're the only company in the sector where you can come online, you can build a public profile, whether you're on the residential side or the commercial side. You come online, and if you're a GC or if you're a subcontractor, it's entirely free for everybody, but it's entirely free for those organizations. And you set up, your profile about where you do business, who you do business with, what kind of trades you do, what kind of jobs you kind of do. And then it helps you find customers and helps customers find you, not too dissimilar to your LinkedIn profile, but this is specifically built for the built world.
I love it. And it completely free. Like if every listener doesn't go set up their account, like to me, this is not rocket science. Like this is construction champions. Here we are. We have put you in front of a free resource to help move the ball for you. So I would say go take advantage of that immediately. So, Lee, it has been fantastic having you on the show today. And thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk with us.
Thank you much, and have a blessed day.
Awesome. All right, construction champions, another episode in the bag. And what was your look in the mirror moment for that? Because for me, when we think about that customer experience, this is something that I worked on with my team a lot as I came up through the ranks in the construction world. And that's what it was all about, is we just preach customer experience, customer experience, customer experience, because we knew that was going to be our way to scale. And I think we can lose sight of that in everything. In everything that we do.
So 7-Eleven was founded in Dallas, and the family, good friends, like one of the granddaughters is the godmother of my daughter, and one of her cousins is an investor in my deal. Like the Thompson families are named. And I'll never, ever forget, there were 3 brothers, Jody, John, and Jerry Thompson. They were the second generation founders. But they had every single senior executive in the company had to spend 1 week every year in a 7-Eleven as a teller, or as a cashier. And they had to do it at all hours of the night. So some of them are in the middle of the day, in the morning, some of them like little midnight, because they said if they don't understand what our cashiers are going through and what our customers are going through, they can't be effective executives. And that was probably the first time that I recall thinking, that's pretty freaking smart.
That is. And, we used to have, so we used to call it, we would have other companies come out and we would sit through their presentations and stuff as a customer to have an understanding of what that was like. Or we would have all guides come out to family members of people they didn't know, just to understand what that customer experience was, so we could get honest feedback on what made you feel what. And like that stuff's very important as you're growing anything, especially a construction company, like, because those customers are going to be the ones that talk to their neighbors. They're the ones that just spent Christmas together, was just at Thanksgiving. And you're fooling yourself if you're giving them a bad experience and you don't think they're at that table telling their family and friends that you're the wrong person to call. So you need to make sure that your customer experience is on point. So Construction Champions, go get on our Facebook mastermind group to start the year out if you're not on there, where we're connecting guests, listeners, everybody together. Go check out our sponsors as we head into 2024. It's going to be an amazing year. And until next time, be the champion you were meant to be. Hey, Construction Champions. It's your host, Ron Nussbaum here. And I want to talk to you about how you can automate all of your marketing. We've had so many people on here talk about getting the systems in place. Well, we have partnered with Build 12 and Construction Champions podcast. Les O'Hara, the founder, what really excites me is his 30 years in the industry. And now he's built a system to be able to nurture your leads and continue to utilize that. I personally use the system myself. Build 12 is absolutely amazing. There's a lot of value in there, and it's a way to start getting away from Angie's List and all of that kind of stuff and start actually creating your own leads every day and have a system for them. So go on our website, check out the show notes, go check out Build 12 and what it can do for the front end of your business today. It's absolutely amazing. I highly recommend going and meeting with Les and his son, Devin, and talking to him about what they built for their own business, so the rest of the industry can take benefit from that. Here on Construction Champions, we're all about helping each other out. And what is better than contractors helping contractors? I say nothing. So let's go take this to the next level. Go check out Build 12. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or Les or his son, Devin. We're here to help. We want to continue to grow the industry.